The gavel crashes down like thunder. Guilty. Judge Thompson's voice echoes through the courtroom. Marcus Williams stands perfectly still, shoulders straight despite the oversized jacket hanging loose on his thin frame. The judge leans forward, eyes scanning Marcus from his worn sneakers to his uncombed hair. "Just another street punk," he mutters under his breath, loud enough for the first row to hear. No family structure, no guidance, no future. His finger points accusingly at Marcus. "Where are your parents, boy?" "Let me guess. Nowhere to be found." Marcus maintains eye contact, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. "May I make one phone call, Your Honor?" Judge Thompson smirks. "By all means, if there's actually someone who'll answer." Marcus pulls out a cracked phone, dials a number he knows by heart. The courtroom watches in silence as he speaks clearly into the device. "Dad," Judge Thompson says, "I'm just another street punk with no family structure." He's wondering where you are. A pause. "Could you come to courtroom 5A? He'd like to meet you." Who exactly waits on the other end of that line? 6 hours earlier, Marcus Williams walks through downtown Seattle, his backpack containing everything he owns. At 17, he has learned to move through the world quietly, invisibly. His stomach growls. He hasn't eaten since yesterday. The food truck on Pine Street sometimes has leftover sandwiches. Marcus approaches cautiously. The owner, Mrs. Chen, recognizes him. "Back again?" she asks, not unkindly. "I can work for food," Marcus offers. "Sweep around your truck, clean the windows." She studies his face, thin but determined, tired but honest. "Take this." She hands him a wrapped sandwich. "But this is the last time without payment." Marcus nods gratefully. "Thank you, Mum." That's when he notices the commotion across the street. An elderly man has dropped his briefcase, papers scattering in the wind. People walk around him, too busy to stop. Marcus doesn't hesitate. He crosses the street and begins gathering the scattered documents. "Sir, let me help you." The man looks up, late 70s, well-dressed but shaken. "Oh, thank you, young man. I'm afraid I'm not as steady as I used to be." Marcus carefully collects every paper, organizing them before returning the briefcase. "Are you hurt, sir?" The man, Mr. Davidson, according to his business card, shakes his head. "I'm fine, thanks to you." "Let me give you something for your trouble." Marcus steps back politely. "No need, sir." "I hope you have a good day." As he turns to leave, Mr. Davidson calls after him. "Wait, what's your name?" "Marcus Williams, sir." "Well, Marcus Williams, you restored my faith in young people today." 20 minutes later, Marcus enters a small electronics store. He has been saving coins for weeks, enough to buy earbuds for the library where he spends cold evenings. The store is cramped, filled with discounted electronics. Marcus approaches the counter where a middle-aged man with suspicious eyes watches him carefully. "Can I help you?" The tone suggests he'd rather not. "I'd like to buy these earbuds." Marcus places exact change on the counter. $23.47. The clerk doesn't touch the money. Instead, he steps closer, voice lowering. "You sure this money's yours, kid?" Marcus blinks, confused. "Yes, sir. I've been saving it." "Saving it from where?" "You don't look like you have a job." The clerk's accusation hangs in the air. "I collect cans for recycling, help people with groceries, do odd jobs." "Sure you do." The clerk's voice grows louder. "More likely you've been picking pockets or dealing drugs." Within minutes, two security guards arrive, followed by a police officer. Officer Rodriguez, a veteran cop with kind eyes, assesses the situation. "What seems to be the problem?" The clerk points at Marcus. "This kid's trying to buy something with what I'm sure is stolen money. Look at him, he's obviously homeless." Officer Rodriguez looks at Marcus carefully. Clean despite worn clothes, respectful posture, hands visible and steady. "Son, where did you get this money?" "I've been collecting cans and bottles, sir, returning them for deposit money. I also helped Mrs. Chen at her food truck yesterday, and she paid me $5. Marcus speaks clearly, meeting the officer's eyes. "I can show you the receipt from the recycling center if that helps." Officer Rodriguez nods. "That won't be necessary, sir." He turns to the clerk. "Do you have any evidence this money was stolen?" The clerk shifts uncomfortably. "Well, no, but look at him. If you refuse his business based on his appearance, that's discrimination." The officer's voice carries a warning. Marcus completes his purchase quietly, thanking Officer Rodriguez with dignity. But the clerk isn't finished. He makes phone calls, warning other businesses about a suspicious homeless kid. Word spreads through the district like wildfire. At the corner market where Marcus sometimes helps elderly customers, the owner now watches him with suspicion. At the coffee shop where Marcus once returned a lost wallet, the barista whispers to her co-worker. By evening, Marcus finds himself followed by a police cruiser. Two officers he doesn't recognize pull alongside him. "You Marcus Williams," the voice is stern, official. "Yes, sir. We've had several reports of suspicious activity. Need to ask you some questions." They get out of the car, hands resting near their weapons. "We've had reports you've been casing businesses, carrying unknown items, possibly dealing drugs." Marcus realizes every innocent interaction from his day has been twisted into evidence of criminal intent. "Officers, I haven't broken any laws. I've been trying to find shelter for the night." "Turn out your pockets, all of them." Marcus complies without argument, revealing his few possessions: the cracked phone, remaining coins, a worn notebook with his writing, and a small photo, the only picture he has of his father. Officer Blake examines each item suspiciously. "This phone, where'd you get it?" "It was a gift from my case worker when I aged out of foster care 3 years ago." Sergeant Mitchell picks up the photograph. "Who's this?" "My father." "Where is he?" "He works for the government." We don't see each other much." The officers exchange glances. Another homeless kid with delusions. "Here's the situation." Sergeant Mitchell's voice grows harder. "We've got multiple reports of suspicious activity. We're taking you in for questioning." At the police station, Marcus sits in an interrogation room that smells of disinfectant and desperation. Detective Sarah Lopez enters with a thick file folder. She's in her 40s with tired eyes. "Marcus Williams," she reads from his file. 17 years old, aged out of foster care, no permanent address, no family contact. She looks up at him. "Not much of a support system, is it?" Marcus meets her gaze steadily. "I support myself, ma'am. I follow the law and try to help others when I can." Detective Lopez opens the folder, spreading out papers. "Electronics store owner says you tried to purchase items with suspicious money. Multiple business owners report you acting suspiciously." She slides photographs across the table. "Marcus from various security cameras throughout the day." "Detective, I helped an elderly man, bought earbuds with money I earned, and tried to stay warm. Nothing I did was illegal. It's after midnight." "Marcus, here's what I think happened. You've been on the streets for 3 years, barely surviving. You saw opportunities today and started planning small crimes." Marcus shakes his head. "That's not what happened. And why would a homeless teenager need earbuds anyway?" "Because I study at the library. I'm working toward my GED. I want to become a police officer." Detective Lopez laughs without warmth. "Marcus, let's be realistic. Kids in your situation don't become police officers. They become statistics. The best thing you can do is plead guilty to the charges we're preparing." Marcus straightens in his chair. "What charges?" "I haven't committed any crimes. Attempted fraud with the electronics purchase, loitering with intent to commit crimes, disturbing the peace." Each charge sounds official, though based on assumptions rather than evidence. "I'd like to make my phone call now," Marcus says quietly. "It's almost 1 a.m. Who exactly are you planning to call?" "Some public defender who won't answer until morning." "My father, the one in the photograph." "Marcus, we've seen this before. Homeless kids create fantasy families. There's no shame in it, but it won't help you now." Marcus maintains eye contact. "I'd still like to make my call." Detective Lopez leads him to a phone in the hallway. Other officers move through the busy station, handling the night's arrests. Marcus stands at the phone, aware everyone is watching, waiting for him to admit no one will answer. He dials a number he has memorized but never called. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, a voice answers, clear, authoritative, awake despite the late hour. "Director Williams." Marcus takes a breath. "Dad, it's Marcus. Marcus." The voice immediately changes from official to concerned. "Are you all right? Where are you?" "Seattle Police Station." "I've been arrested on charges I don't understand." The detective says I should plead guilty because kids like me don't have futures. There's a moment of silence. Then, put the detective on the phone. Marcus turns to Detective Lopez, who has been listening with growing confusion. The voice is too authoritative to be fantasy. He wants to speak with you. Detective Lopez takes the phone reluctantly. This is Detective Lopez. Detective, this is FBI Director Robert Williams. Marcus is my son. I need to understand exactly why he's been arrested. The color drains from her face. Around the station, other officers notice her expression. Sir, there are charges of, that is to say, we have reports of ... double quotes. She struggles to summarize events. Detective Lopez, the voice continues with deadly calm, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Has my son been charged with any actual crimes, or is he being held on suspicion based on his appearance and housing status? Detective Lopez looks around the station. Other officers are watching now. Sir, we have reports of suspicious activity ... That's not what I asked. Has he committed any crimes? Well, no direct evidence of crimes, but ... Then why is he in custody? Sir, perhaps we should discuss this in person. Indeed we should. I'll be there within the hour. Until I arrive, Marcus is to be treated as a witness, not a suspect. Is that clear? Yes, sir, and detective. Every detail of tonight's events will be reviewed by federal investigators. The line goes dead. Word spreads through the station like electricity. The homeless kid's father is the FBI director. Someone's about to be in serious trouble. Captain Torres emerges from his office, having been briefed. Where's the Williams boy now? Interview room 3. Detective Lopez responds. Still in handcuffs? Yes, sir. Remove them, now, and bring him something to eat and drink. As the handcuffs are removed, Marcus rubs his wrists. The change in treatment is dramatic. An hour ago, he was a suspected criminal. Now he's treated with respect that should have been given regardless. FBI Director Robert Williams enters the station at exactly 7:17 a.m., accompanied by 3 federal agents. He's tall and authoritative, with the same steady eyes as his son. The station falls quiet. Captain Torres, he approaches. Thank you for coming. We have your son in interview room 3. There seems to have been a misunderstanding. Director Williams doesn't shake hands. Captain, I need to see my son immediately, and then I'll require a full briefing on why a 17-year-old was arrested for being homeless. They escort him to the interview room. For a moment, the official facade drops. Are you hurt? He asks Marcus. No, Dad, they've been respectful since you called. Director Williams turns to the assembled officers. Now, I want to hear exactly what my son did that justified arresting him. Captain Torres begins nervously, referring to notes. Sir, we had reports. He helped an elderly man who dropped papers, purchased earbuds with cash, and walked through the business district carrying his belongings, and which of those activities constitutes a crime? The silence stretches. Captain, my son helped a citizen in distress, made a legal purchase with earned money, and sought shelter from freezing weather. Please explain how any reasonable interpretation justified arrest. Detective Lopez steps forward. Sir, we received reports from business owners concerned about ... Concerned about what? A polite teenager trying to survive while pursuing education. Or were they concerned about his appearance, his housing status? Director Williams were prepared to drop all charges immediately and issue an apology. That's a start, but doesn't address systemic issues that led to tonight. Director Williams turns to his legal advisor. Sarah, I want a full investigation into every establishment that filed reports against Marcus. If they're discriminating against homeless individuals, they're violating civil rights laws. He looks back at the officers. I also want to understand why trained police officers couldn't distinguish between criminal activity and survival behavior. Marcus watches with mixed emotions. He's grateful but aware his treatment changed only because of who his father is. Dad, Marcus speaks quietly. Thousands of homeless kids go through this every day without anyone advocating for them. Director Williams' expression softens. You're right, and that's exactly why this investigation won't stop with your case. The next morning, word spreads throughout Seattle. News vans surround the police station. Headlines read, FBI Director's homeless son arrested on bogus charges. The electronics store owner who started it all watches the coverage with growing horror. His discrimination against a homeless teenager has triggered a federal investigation. Mrs. Chen, the food truck owner, speaks to reporters. Marcus is a good kid. He works for what he gets and always helps others. What happened to him was wrong. The story resonates nationally. Homeless advocacy groups point to Marcus's case as evidence of systemic discrimination. Civil rights lawyers file lawsuits. The mayor announces policy reviews. In Judge Thompson's courtroom, where our story began, the atmosphere is tense. Marcus stands beside a public defender while FBI agents fill the gallery. The judge, unaware of the night's revelations, proceeds with his usual arrogance. Marcus Williams, you stand accused of multiple violations. How do you plead? Not guilty. Your Honor, Marcus responds clearly. Judge Thompson scoffs, another delinquent wasting the court's time. Where are your parents? Boy, Marcus pulls out his phone. May I call my father, Your Honor? By all means, if there's actually someone who'll answer. The courtroom watches as Marcus dials. Dad, Judge Thompson says, I'm just another street punk with no family structure. He's wondering where you are. Could you come to courtroom 5A? He'd like to meet you. The courtroom door opens. FBI Director Robert Williams enters, flanked by federal agents. Judge Thompson's face drains of color as he recognizes the man whose photograph appears regularly in news coverage. Your Honor, Director Williams speaks with quiet authority. I'm here to meet my son and observe these proceedings. The gavel in Judge Thompson's hand trembles slightly. Director Williams... I had no idea... Clearly not. Otherwise, you might have shown my son the respect due any citizen appearing in your courtroom. Director Williams takes a seat in the front row. Please continue with your proceedings, Your Honor. I'm very interested in how you handle cases involving homeless youth. Judge Thompson attempts to regain composure, but his usual bluster has evaporated. Mr. Williams... that is, the defendant. The charges appear to be... double quote. He shuffles through papers with shaking hands. Your Honor, the prosecutor stands. Given new information that has come to light, the state moves to dismiss old charges against Marcus Williams. Judge Thompson nods quickly. Motion granted. Case dismissed. He bangs the gavel once, then looks nervously at Director Williams. Is there anything else? Director Williams stands slowly. Actually, yes. I'd like to discuss your sentencing patterns regarding homeless defendants. My staff has identified some concerning trends in your courtroom. As they leave the courthouse, Marcus walks beside his father. Media surrounds them, but Director Williams shields his son from the cameras. I'm proud of you, he tells Marcus quietly. You maintained your dignity throughout this ordeal. I learned that from you, Dad. No, you learned that from yourself. I just provided the backup you needed. Marcus looks back at the courthouse. What happens now? Now we work to ensure this doesn't happen to other kids who don't have FBI directors for fathers. Director Williams places his arm around his son's shoulders. And Marcus, you're coming home, no more sleeping in shelters or doorways. 6 months later, Marcus Williams stands at a podium in the Seattle City Council chambers. He wears a clean suit and speaks with the same quiet dignity he showed throughout his ordeal. Homelessness is not a crime, he tells the packed room. Poverty is not criminal intent. Young people aging out of foster care deserve support, not suspicion. Behind him sits the FBI director, no longer just a father but an advocate for systemic change. The Marcus Williams Act, as it came to be known, requires bias training for police officers, establishes rights protections for homeless individuals, and creates support programs for youth aging out of care. Judge Thompson was quietly reassigned after a judicial review found patterns of discriminatory sentencing. The electronics store owner faced federal civil rights violations. Mrs. Chen received a commendation from the city for her kindness to homeless youth. And Marcus, he enrolled in college with a full scholarship, studying criminal justice and social work. His dream of becoming a police officer evolved into something bigger, reforming the system that failed him and countless others. Sometimes justice needs more than evidence. Sometimes it needs a phone call that changes everything. Have you ever witnessed injustice that made you want to speak up? Share your story in the comments below. These conversations matter because awareness leads to action, and action leads to change. Subscribe to The Human Stories for more powerful narratives of ordinary people creating extraordinary change. Until next time, remember, dignity isn't determined by your address, it's determined by your character.